All right, welcome everyone to week 9 of mentorship program. That's amazing. All this time we've been here. Thank you to every one of you for showing up. Excuse me. In the live calls or in recordings or even in the live calls when you're not feeling great. Sending off to all those who are having a hard time with physical symptoms and stuff like that, emotional symptoms too. And yeah, let's have fun. I wanted to share a little story, wink, wink, that some of you might know. Javier and I will be taking some trips this summer, and I wanted to get some new clothes. Because I don't feel identified with my wardrobe right now. And so I was like freaking out, stressing out about, oh my God, me too, as Kevin. Wait, about going on trips or getting a new wardrobe, because I'm interested in the second one. And then I was like stressing out and like, there's like online shopping, but we don't have that much time to like wait for packages and everything. And then like going to stores, what is that? I don't know. I was like, what? Going out to a store and nothing would fit me. And I'm like, what is this thing? And I realized like, oh, I'm trying to change my whole like maybe 20-year wardrobe or like 10-year wardrobe in like 2 weeks. And that doesn't make sense. Like that won't, I mean, it could happen if that's the only thing I was doing, but with everything preparing, I was like, oh, okay. So I like adjusted my expectations about what I was gonna do. And then today I was walking, I'm doing chiropractor sessions, and I was walking from chiropractor like, oh no, I gotta do so many things. I'm like, what? Like, I'm not gonna do this if it's not gonna be fun. And so every time that I'm feeling stressed out or frustrated, I'm like, okay, this is my cue that I can make this fun or exciting, or for me it's fun. Like that's how I'm living right now. That for you might be like peaceful or harmonious or like balanced or just like chill. But for me it's like, okay, how can I make this fun, or how can I really enjoy this? And so a thing of like buying clothes in this world right now, becoming something stressful. It's like, it might be stressful, but we can find a way of making it whatever it is that we want to make it. So this is a new shirt. Thank you very much. And I hope everyone finds whatever clothes feel good with their body. So let's get started with this great thing. If you can share in the chat just what's coming up for you right now. I know changing wardrobe, if you could just put it in a few words. I know that a lot of stuff is going on, but maybe something significant that is happening for you, like Melody and Teal getting married. So getting married next week, or just a phrase of what is going on in your life so we can hear a little bit from you. While I set this up. Roll. Yes, Tracy changing wardrobe. Kevin's changing wardrobe. Thank you, Mel. COVID isolation, feeling loved by people who care and are helping. Yes. Jamie's interviewing for the biggest career opportunity of your life. Exciting. I would hire Jamie. Thankful to be practicing the 4 agreements and breaking some old agreements, Javier. Kevin is having some existential crises. Same. I'm glad you're existing so you can have crises. Amelia has a kitty, is sick, but my business just reopened after my PayPal was locked briefly. Oh man, that must have been challenging. Happy it's open now. Congrats to Teal and Melody. Yes. April is excited for more day with students. Yes. Congrats to all the teachers on their last week of school. Andres is going on over 6 months that I gave up nicotine and 4 months that I quit drinking alcohol. Yes, all the power to you in that adventure. Avril also taking a trip soon. Yay. If it's the one that I think, yay. Good luck with that. And Miran is looking forward to Teal and Melody's wedding. We getting ready for a rehearsal tomorrow for music for the ceremony. I didn't know that. That's so exciting. Nick is quitting cigarettes as well. Awesome. Yes, all the power to you all in that. Excited to be alive, feeling a little bit ungrounded from a lot of changes, but grateful for what's come. Yes, a lot of love for you in that too. Yay, Brahman is here. Okay, I love doing all of this. And let's see what we have here. So we'll do some silent sitting. We go through the value of the week. We are going to briefly talk about more EHV stuff of a little info about how EHV is applied or researched around the world, and kind of we're going to make a distinction, or we're going to point out the things that you find different from other modalities that you are aware of and EHV. And so later we'll talk about the book and our usual questions and housekeeping. So wherever you are right now, sitting down, laying down, walking, take a breath in for 4. 1, 2, breathe in 4, breathe out for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, that was a long one. So we're going to breathe in for 4 and breathe out for 8. So make sure you get enough air. 1, 2, breathe in 4, breathe out 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Awesome. Let's do one more and do our usual, think of the word release when we breathe out. So breathe in 1, 2, 3, 4, breathe out 7, 6, release 4, 5, 3, 2, 1. All right. And today we're going to do an exercise of an eye movement exercise. So right now, find an object on your bottom right side, bottom right corner of your visual space. And we are going to assign to that object something that has been challenging for us, something that has been emotionally pressure, or anything that it's not feeling the way you want it to feel right now, or you would like a shift on it. Have that, just choose one object, and it could have like this, never mind, let me just keep it at that so I don't get too complicated. We can make it more complicated after. And then on your left top corner, you're going to choose an object that represents that situation resolved, shifted the way you would like it to be. So like that, what would you like it to be? You're going to associate that to an object on your left upper corner. And so what we're going to do is that we're going to, with both of our eyes, we're going to look down to the bottom object and look up, look down. That way of just your head is straight still, but you're moving down and up and down and up. All right, you want to try it? Nothing worse is gonna happen. Just probably notice how the weights of that thing that you chose might shift during this exercise. So let's start looking down and up, down, up, down, up, down, up. Keep doing that. If you can, just do it a little faster. If you start getting like dizzy, you can just pause for a second or go slower. And thoughts might be coming up. Cool. Tell them I'm busy right now. I'll talk to you later. And keep moving your eyes down and up. And that thing you chose, keep moving your eyes on your left corner. Start to see how that thing gets bigger in perspective to the lower bottom right. Kind of like takes on more life, gets bigger, brighter, or just like the form. You can notice the form a little more. All right. Let's do it for a few more seconds. Almost done. All right, and let's come back, slow down and come back to forward facing. All right, what a weird thing we just did. Imagine you doing that on the train or something. I would be your friend if I saw you doing that. Cool. So I think it's similar. I learned this from Dr. John Connolly, which is one of my mentors right now, and I'm getting trained in a thing called rapid resolution therapy, which is a practice given by a facilitator. Like you go to a session for this, but it involves some exercises that can be done, let's say, on your own. And so something that he says is that something that happens with our mind, that when we learn something new, our mind usually wants to relate it to something that we know. Like, is this similar to this other thing? Because ultimately our mind wants to keep us safe. And if we can relate it to something that we know, that like brings us peace, right? It's like, oh yeah, like this is not overly like external. I don't know what this is, might be a threat. And so we relate it to something that we know. And so as an exercise for us to tell our minds that something can live on its own, and also because I don't know much about EMDR, but might have some similarities. But I love this eye exercise. And you might have felt a shift already. I know when I do it, that thing that has been troubling me kind of like loses power, like loses intensity. And you might have, if you felt that, let me know. And if you didn't feel that too, that's fine. You can practice doing that exercise for when it's something that is pressing, that you feel like it's overtaking you. And so I find it very effective. And I feel the change in just a few moments. You don't need any tools, you can do it anywhere except when you're not driving. Please don't do it with driving. The room literally got brighter when you mentioned to notice if the object gets bigger and brighter. Yes. It's like the sun heard you too. Yes, I love it. I believe that. And I'm so happy that I have it for you. All right. Your eyes feel more relaxed. Yes. Yeah. So sometimes if we're just like looking at something intensely and just like one place, it kind of like gives a little exercise to the eyes. Miriam says the room felt crisper and fresher, probably because I was looking at the AC unit. Yeah, and where attention goes, that thing grows. Where we put our attention. Is that too bright? That thing grows. And yeah, feels more present. All right, let me keep going so we can enjoy everything. So, thought of the week. I always start with the thought of the week. I don't know why, because it's bigger. The universal human value is truth this week, and the sub value is discipline of thoughts. And our thought of the week is good thoughts, good actions, good feelings. And I would love if Javier jumped in right now. He shared a message with us in the Human Values Collective about reflection of this thought of the week. So could you share with us right now?
I mean, I just want to start with hello, everybody, and thank you, Andrea. I just kind of want to read what Victoria wrote in the practice guide email. So it says, the objective with this value, discipline of thought, is to be disciplined and aware of the quality of your thoughts. Make a habit of cultivating good thoughts and feelings. Remember, you have the power to either agree with the thoughts you have or let them float on by in your mind. Not all your thoughts are going to be truthful. So you get to decide which thoughts are helpful and worthy of your time and energy. And that is, first of all, awesome. Congratulations, Victoria. And then also so aligned with what we're reading in the book right now, which is your agreements, and which agreements are no longer serving you. They were serving you up until one point, right? But now you're not in survival mode anymore, and you can, or less, and you can start making some new agreements. And I also noticed this is tied to cognitive behavioral therapy, where there's this cycle between thoughts, actions, and feelings that they try to help at least teens in my realm make that connection, that how those three things reinforce each other, and it gets this positivity wheel jump started. So it's really awesome, and yeah, just what I needed. So thank you. I'm curious what other people's reaction to this value of the week is, and this awesome thought of the week and objective.
Are you asking for people to speak up?
I would love to hear what you have to say.
Well, I've mentioned before that I struggle with mental illness. And part of that is psychosis. So I do have auditory hallucinations, and I feel like discipline of thought is really important for that, not because I can just willpower my way out of hallucination, but because it's important to just like acknowledge and move on. And I think that's the way with a lot of things. I think that's the way with a lot of things, acknowledge and move on. And I have a tendency, I've mentioned I'm mean to myself. I also have a tendency to just complain, and just when something goes wrong, I just complain and I just dwell on how wrong it went. Like I mentioned that my PayPal got locked through no fault of my own. And I was just complaining every day when I was submitting more and more information, trying to unlock it, and nothing was happening. And then my sister actually spun that to me. She was like, you should think about how you are submitting more information and they haven't banned you yet. Like every time they ask you for more information, that's them not banning. And I feel like that's just, discipline of thought is very important, because you can't, good thoughts don't just happen to you. You have to like nurture them. And I find this week's sub value really, and thought of the week really, really impactful in my life.
Wow. Malia, thank you so much. I'm so happy to hear that. In the book, Don Miguel Ruiz was saying, even if you, I like to call it a pivot, right? You have this like quote unquote negative thought, or agreement that doesn't serve you, and then like, well, what's the opposite? That kind of is a good clue to what you want to pivot to, in terms of like, whatever, I am a good teacher, yeah, so it helps to know that. It helps to think of it as a pivot, and that even if you just start using it, it already is generating energy in that direction. And I also like to think of discipline as like, don't beat yourself up if you did it, if you've made a mistake again. Like, you're still in it. Like, that's the warrior. Sometimes the warrior still loses, but you just keep going. And yeah, I just like that. Like, I'm getting a visual of like a crack, and like there's like light coming through the crack, so yeah, thank you.
No problem.
Yes, thanks so much, Amelia and Javier. And those three, I love what Miran brought up for us of the 3 H's that we haven't talked about, but basically the head, heart, and hand. I mean, pretty straightforward what that means, and how we want alignment between these three. And so like we could say like thoughts in the head, feelings in the heart, and actions in the hand. And how we talked last time also about being, doing, and thinking, writing, those three. It's basically, yeah, the same thing. And so we want to stay like surfing between those, and seeing when, yes, our thoughts, or like you said, Amelia, like I don't know what that experience feels like, but I can just imagine like it overtaking you, and you're like all these things going on, that we can, because of that happening, we can like start putting our attention there, and then like everything gets bigger, and like it's just like a snowball of things. And so when we have the capacity for that, or when we can be like, oh, okay, my energy is going mostly through my thoughts right now, or where do I want to bring my energy, to see where it could be where the energy could be channeled in a way that is more helpful. So thank you, everyone, so much. I love all your comments. I'm not gonna check your homework like elementary school teacher, but this is a practice for you, and I hope you submitted a value. We're not gonna go through them today, so we can talk more about other stuff, but keep submitting these. These are for you, and I would like for you to choose a way that that you will practice it for that week, or even if it's just saying the value to yourself in the verse human value and the sub value when you wake up. Or I know something that is helpful for me sometimes. I have this on my phone, which is part of a mentorship that I'm doing about using animals as like archetypes of different types of energy that we want to channel. So for each month, there is an animal. So this month is the horse. And so you could just make a little picture or something that has the value and the self value. And then we all know we all are always in our phone, most of us. And so every time you turn on your phone, you're like, okay, there's a bit of thought and truth. That's it. I saw that, and that creates energy for you, energy shift. So yes, keep submitting your value and sub-value and thought of the week. So as we go a little bit more into EHV, I wanted to touch on briefly on EHV around the world. And I wanted to share with you this thing. This page with information that I uploaded into Mighty Network, so you can make it bigger and all that stuff. This is a document that Dr. Tom Zell put together. I told you about Dr. Zell last time, and just crediting who put it together. And so it talks about different places in the world where EHV or EHV related efforts have taken place. So some of the main things is Satya Sai Baba, the teacher that I told you about, that started schools like schools in India with using education human values, like created a model system from kindergarten to 12 to university in education human values. That's amazing. Terence Lovat is another professor of the University of Newcastle who did some research on values education. And then the Australian government has really incorporated like in their education system. That's amazing. Like the whole country, yes, is using this in their schools. As well as Thailand, of course, where some of us went to get certified. I think this has stalled for a little bit, but there was some movement going to make this also a part of the public education. And then, of course, there's a bunch of mindfulness education efforts going on in the United States, as you might be aware of. And yeah, they are related to EHV, I would say. Sometimes we draw a distinction with mindfulness, as in mindfulness, as the word says, is about bringing attention to the mind, or like bring attention to mind things, which we want to use, like we said, 5 teaching techniques, 5 koshas, head, heart, hand, a approach where the only thing that we're doing is not looking at how we can do things, like how to tend to our mind, but that it also connects to our hearts and to our hands. And so there's some websites there as well that you can check out if you are like me and some of us that could just learn and learn and learn for days, and there's some more stuff for you to do. Also, those of you who have done the mentorship program already, this is a great thing to like go in more and just find like your go deeper into it now that you have some kind of structure in your mind, and you can find maybe related to what your initiative is, to what you where you want to use human values is, you can knock yourself out with these resources. All right. And with that, I wanted to ask 1, 2, 3, some of you. I was planning to make kind of like a comparison chart between EHV and SEL, for example, social emotional learning, or EHV and mindfulness, which I decided not to because first, comparison can be a little, you know, we don't know. For example, I don't know like completely about SEL to like kind of make that comparison, but I wanted to kind of like draw from us what modalities we have experienced that either are different or bump heads with EHV, and why, what value do you see in EHV from what you know up until now? So if any one of you, let me say that again. So which modality, it being of education, it being of a religion, it being of just a way of life that you have experienced that is different from EHV, or what things do you find different, and what things do you see in EHV that could be helpful for you? What things have been not helpful in other modalities that you see is helpful in EHV? So I open the floor right now for people to jump in and just share what is your experience. Go ahead.
I can start. So this might be a little long-winded, but one of the wisest people I've ever had a pleasure of interacting with was this older Indian guy. And this guy, he explained, we talked about religion somehow. And he basically, I told him I grew up Catholic and that sort of thing. And one of the things he told me was, he's like, but why just go to one particular deity to learn? Wouldn't you rather have sort of a panel of a bunch of different ones, and you can kind of tap into all of them? Why would Jesus be mad if you talk to the Buddha about something? So it was a short conversation that I had when I was, I was just like waiting for class when I was in law school, and we sort of talked about that sort of thing in passing. But it's a bit of wisdom that I've always sort of incorporated. I just try to learn from a lot of different disciplines. So like I think that's been helping me more, and I have a little bit more sort of understanding is Stoicism and the Greeks and that sort of thing. And one of those virtues is wisdom, and it's always to always be learning. And even if something doesn't necessarily seem consistent, or it's not the same, but it's it can bring new perspectives and that sort of thing. So as I read the book, and as I sometimes there's some things that's like, okay, I can't really wrap my head around, but it's maybe because I'm just barely getting started, right? So but you find little nuggets, and you don't have to adopt a modality or a way of thinking wholesale. You can just kind of contour it to what you're going through now, and who knows, maybe a couple of years from now you might go back to it and you're in a different position in life, and the way that you sort of implement that is going to be a little different. So I'm all about wanting to learn, learning from a lot of different things. And so even though there's some things that aren't exactly the same, sometimes they're just said differently, but they all kind of come from the same sort of root. Right. So it's just a different way of explaining. The Greeks had a way of explaining things, very dense, sometimes overly dense. Mr. Ruiz speaks sort of in a different, Eastern philosophy sort of way of, but a lot of it just comes down to they're saying the same things in just different in different forms. But I feel like, it's we can take little bits and nuggets from all kinds and use it to our advantage, and just yeah, Oh, I'm just ranting at this point. So
Yeah, no, Andres, it's so good. Thank you for sharing that. And there was a class in the school in Thailand that was the unity of faiths. These women from Singapore actually came to deliver that lecture to us. And yeah, it was all about that's basically one of the tenets of EHV. All roads lead to the top of the mountain.
Yes, thank you so much. I love it. I love hearing y'all. And now that you said about Catholicism, I remember my grandmother, and maybe your grandmother also says it's the only church and the only religion. And yeah, like some of us grew up around that. And now that you say that, Andres, thank you for pointing that out. That as we read these books, of course, as we mentioned at the beginning, like take what makes sense to you, or like not even make sense. Take what you're like, I'm curious about that, and be open to that. And then this doesn't really feel like something valuable to me right now, or even those things could bring up yes, something helpful for you in the moment, live and learning moment. But what I want to say is we are using these books to support us in this work. But I just wanted to mention that EHV, as it's kind of like a thing of its own, and it is not based on any religion or spiritual practice. And so it's really just like the 5 values, 5 teaching techniques, and 5 koshas that we use. And so these books, like, we're not saying like you have to believe all of this and this is what practicing EHV is, but they are like supporting our process through just learning more about ourselves. So thank you for that. And Jamie, what you got?
So I'm sharing this because I used to have a mental block for the longest time. I'm one of the OGs. So this is my 3rd year doing the mentorship program. And it wasn't until Andrea and I had our last one-on-one check-in, which was just a couple months ago, I think, Andrea, that I realized I was doing the 5 teaching techniques and EHV the entire time with the community that I had envisioned originally, which was with my previous employer. The mental block was education and human values. I'm not a classroom teacher. So I struggled with trying to break outside of that classroom teacher box. And actually, Javi got a taste for it last night with our board meeting. What I was doing, with the DI committee, and I didn't even make the connection because the committee members would always come back to me, Jamie, oh my gosh, I love how you run these meetings. They're so impactful. We feel so connected. Like, they really got a lot out of the meetings. And all it was, didn't know that I was doing the 5 techniques. I had my meeting opening, which was people checking in, introducing themselves, answering a question of the day, kind of a thing. But before that, I'm mixing up my steps. Before that, we started with, I do a warming hands activity so that people can get connected through warmth, energy, and then we go into intentional mindful breathing. But I pull up a YouTube video that has like soundscape music. And so we follow along with the music, we do the silent sitting together, breathing, connecting together, then go into introductions, we go through the meeting, and then I always end with some kind of story or poem. And Andrea was like, Jamie, those are the 5 teaching techniques. I'm like, oh my gosh, they really are. And I'm doing that now with one of my clients, and they love it. They started using, in fact, what Javi did today with reading out the message from the email. I now do that with my clients. So Victoria, at least once a month, this client hears the thought of the week with what you say also in the body of the email, and it makes such a difference. And once I broke out of that, I am not a classroom teacher, And it's okay because it still works in all parts of life. It made such a big difference for me. But that's how long I had the block for almost two whole years. Yeah.
That's awesome. I love that, because it's usually like, oh, we are doing these 5 teaching techniques. And just because it's like our body has all those parts. So we naturally resonate with all these things. But I love when that you are doing that in meetings, and that's a great example of where we can incorporate EHV. That is not only with children or classroom or like an education setting, but just really anything. And in your daily life could be like, I know when we were in school, Dr. Sell would ask us to like, okay, choose something that you're gonna do during the week. Like, okay, I'm gonna sing to this song, and you can plan it out if it doesn't come out like naturally to you. Like, I'm gonna sing this song, and then I'm gonna walk and hear this story, and like you can really get creative with it and touch those 5 parts of us to really integrate the value. So I love that. Thank you, Jamie. All right. Anyone else? Somebody.
Teal's got a hand raised.
Oh, I hadn't seen it. Great. You gotta keep your hand raised the whole time you talk, okay?
Yeah, thank you. This came up when we did the breakout rooms last time, I think, Andres and I talking that it would be, I've been in Christian spaces for most of my life, and like evangelical kind of Christian spaces, which has been a ride to say the least. I'm kind of like stepping out of that for the first time this season, but something that I was thinking about that we do and this stuff is having the values and then the sub values, and that we talked about it last week or the week before, how we run everything through those values, but then they can't be weaponized, because I'm trying to think of a sub value, one of the sub values, like, but you can take a sub value and like really use it against somebody, right? And you could say like, oh, like, I don't know, like freedom, like I need freedom, and so I have the freedom, like it's a free country, I can have as many guns as I want, or that kind of language or whatever. But if you run that through one of the 5 main human values of like nonviolence and love, and then it kind of corrects everything. And like and so anyways, I was thinking like the Christian church often just like their main value is the Bible, which is such a broad, like it's like so broad, right? So you can take any part of the Bible, and there's so many ways to interpret it, and so it's a really rough thing to be your main value, to try to run this is our lens. We look at everything through the gospel or through the Bible. It's like, well, which part? And so it's almost impossible to have like, it's just so many pitfalls in that because it's too broad. But Christians are often scared of like the Bible getting skewed or something. But if they just picked, like, if any church just picked like, oh, and some churches do have like values like that they choose, but if they really committed to like, we're going to commit to like these 3 values, like forgiveness and love and peace or something, and then they ran all of their decisions and all of their interpretations of the Bible and all of their ethics through those 3 values, how much that would change everything and how the church operates. And so I just think that's a big difference between a lot of, probably not just Christian churches, but a lot of organized religions take that. If they took that approach, like the way that the human values stuff does, it might be helpful. So that's a reflection. Thanks.
Yes, thanks, Teal. And you have plenty of experience in those organizations and communities, so you have seen what works and what doesn't for a bit. Yeah, awesome. Yes, and you mentioned the word freedom, and our chapter about the path of the Toltec, the second to last, you know what I'm talking about, chapter, had so many nuggets. I highly recommend, if I think there's a YouTube recording of the 4 agreements, of like Javier and I just sat down and like listened to the book before starting, and it was like, I feel like we were floating before starting the call. Like, it was so beautiful, and I would recommend it to just like when you're, yeah, like kind of having a hard time, or just like wanna be grounded back into what we are practicing, or what the 4 agreements offers. I loved the before the prayer section, there's, I think it's called New Earth, and just like listening to that as a podcast, or just this, even if you don't consciously are aware of every word that he says, just like, it's a great grounding, kind of back to what we're here for is. And I love how it said that freedom as doing what we want, and that sometimes gets like, you know, like you said, Teal, what is, well, I just want to run my car over some people. But what, like a child, what we want is so connected to who we really are, that it's in the benefit of ourselves and others. And so that thing of what we want to do has been like misconstrued, I don't know what the word is, has getting like distracted by that we're not connected to our true self, right? No, we're not connected to that person that we came here to be. And so what we think we want, it's a little distorted. That's what I want to mention. And so which of these things brings peace to me, excitement, and it's good for those around us. Oh, wow. A culture in Spain using the 5 values. I want to see that in my lifetime. So is there any shift that you have experienced so far with the 4 agreements? Anything that you've been doing differently, or that some agreement that maybe you have broken that has brought you more energy? Any even small shift that you have experienced so far that was guided by this book and this wisdom?
I'll try not to hog up too much time. But going back to your first point about listening to the book, I think that, and this is just sort of, I just realized this now. I mean, back like Native peoples, they usually share their stories verbally, right? So reading on a page is one way to consume it, but also listening to it is also, I think maybe that's just the best way. I personally love audiobooks, and I've been listening to, I have like I forgot to like use up my credits, and I racked them all a bunch up. So I have a bunch of books, and I do a lot of walking and listening. But essentially, it's allowed me to like, be able to, going back to one of the thought control. I used to not want to be alone in my own mind because I was always so negative. I was always ruminating. I was always, just thinking, being anxious, guilt about the past, anxious about the future, this and that. But now consuming good, wholesome material that's inspiring, that's motivating, that learns, now it's allowed me to just, now I go on walks, and sometimes I just don't even take my phone out because it helps so much. So a little bit of a tangent there, but as far as other things that have helped, yeah, I think the main thing was just sort of not taking things personal, and also the being impeccable with one's word. I think that is basically a lot of, because we also, we hear a lot of what we say, and it just kind of tends to become a sort of like an echo chamber of negativity. And finally, now just being a lot more, trying to be more optimistic, and just surrounding myself by new experiences. The book talks about like what we like as children, But I think about, well, if left to my own devices when I was 7, I would just want to eat ice cream and play video games all day, right? But now, and as a child, having limited resources, maybe I didn't get to experience things that I might have would have liked because of time, money, that sort of thing. But now as an adult, it's like, well, who knows what I might like that gives me that happiness. So it's all about trying new things and new experiences, and in different ways, whether it's food, whether it's visiting places, learning from different programs like this. So it's just trying out new things, because you never know what you might actually really like. It might give you that little bit of push to get you through a bad day, and make the bright days shine brighter.
Are you a lawyer or something? You're very good with your words.
No, that was all off the cuff.
Exactly.
That was just a freestyle of
you gotta like defend someone, or you just like gotta use your words and off the cuff. I love it, Andres. Thank you so much. I love that distinction, which is the difference between what we liked to do as children and how we did things as children. So we would be like playing video games and eating ice cream all day. But it's like with the, like, I don't care. With that, like, let me do just the thing that I want quality of children, that it's like the exact example of freedom. Awesome. Kevin. You're still muted, my friend.
I really liked this last chapter. I was thinking about it. It was like the analogy came to me of like the whole book has been like this really solid basketball team that had like really good defense and like first place probably. And then this last chapter was like they called off like LeBron James off the bench and just like blew everything away. So I really like that. But I think I was always confused about how to like put these agreements, start breaking these agreements. But I really like the part about the angel of death having like kind of this like sense of your own like death, the end of things, as like a way to kind of like instill a sense of life and purpose and joy to what you're feeling. And it reminded me of like my partner and I just moved from Chicago to Erie, Pennsylvania, and like we approached moving like kind of like knowing that we were going to be leaving these people, and it was kind of like eventually I always had that in my mind that I was going to be like leaving. And so it was kind of like you have a sense of the end of things as a kind of a way to focus what you talk about and who you like kind of doing things that like bring joy to you and bring your heart out. And I really that just like kind of made sense, like, oh yeah, that's kind of like a little vision of like what that angel of death might look like. And also got me thinking about just like how the angel like death is such a term that we avoid in America today. And I think like how like there is in the past, it's like kind of the sense of it can be a beautiful thing and a good thing too. And I think it's probably part of like the healthcare industry of being like the making death just like one more immiserating experience of like alienation and suffering, because it's like putting people in poverty more, because it's so expensive to just like go to a hospital and die, and then your family has to pay for you. So, so yeah, I think that was kind of a really a part that made a lot of sense, and feel like opened up some doors for how some of these agreements can be broken.
Yes. Thank you so much. Wow, I love hearing you, Kevin, and all of you. And I love that you brought that up, because as a Scorpio, of course, you brought up death. And I love people that bring up death, because it's the same thing. It's not just a casual conversation. You bring up like, have you had an ego death? I know some of y'all are talk about that. But yes, I want to say more, but I want to hear Miran, if you're available before we go. You had your hand up. I just want to hear.
Oh yeah, sure. I just wanted to mention that this quote from page 107, you have to know which agreements you want to change before you can change them. And you need to take an inventory of all that you believe, all your agreements, and through this process, you begin the transformation. That currently lines up with, just full disclosure, I'm in a 12-step program. And the 4th step involves making a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves to see how far-reaching whatever we want to let go of is taking control of our lives. And so for the longest time, since I started attending this program, it was more of like this generalized feeling of, okay, I know I'm codependent and I want to let go of this set of behaviors, but it's hard to do that or even know where to start if you don't know, like, in this specific situation I feel da 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 da, or when I'm triggered by this scenario, I respond in this way. And so I feel like what Don Miguel Ruiz brings up here, as a general suggestion of, you have to know what you want to change first before going full hog into the direction you want to go, is very much needed advice. And I was very happy to see it here.
Thank you, Miran. Definitely. I'm always like breathing hard after our meetings, in gratitude, in like awe, and in like, I want to hear more, and all the feelings. And I'm sure you experienced something similar of like, I wanted to say more, or I want to hear more, or there's always questions that we have. And that's great, because we still have more weeks. We have 2 weeks. The next week and the following will be pre-recorded videos. I should just say some videos for you to watch. I encourage you to watch it like at the same time, since we have this flow of like every week on Tuesday, why not watch it on Tuesday? So I will, yes, thank you. You can do a watch party, or discuss with your buddy on WhatsApp or whatever after, just to kind of have that community with someone. Watch party sounds fun. So I encourage you to do it with other people, or to discuss after with other people. And I will put the rest of the recordings up. I have not done that, and I fucked it up. I will be sharing with all of you that, so we can have all the material. We'll also kind of put a bunch of files. I will bombard you with files with just more information about EHV, so you can go in deeper. And we'll have 2 videos, and I think there'll be some things about reflection, about 4 agreements, and kind of writing, journaling, getting either into writing or talking or sharing with another person. Because when we share with another person, have you talked to someone about not taking things personal? Like, that's the next step. Like, to have a discussion with someone on your friend group about not taking things personal, right? Like, that takes another level of like, okay, I know what this is. I'm applying it myself, and now let me like share with other people. So again, using the 5 teaching techniques, the 5 koshas. All right, I can stay here for any questions. Otherwise, have an amazing Tuesday and an amazing week. Those teachers, have fun in your last week, and yeah, have a great summer. We'll see you back in a date that I will confirm with you, because I don't know off the top of my head. So thank you, everyone. Love you all. Ciao.
Have a safe trip. I'm done.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you. Bye.